Hello, and welcome to Women in Retail Talks, the podcast where C-suite executive women in the retail space share their stories of professional growth, leadership development, personal journeys, and more. I'm Marie Albajes, managing editor of Women in Retail, a membership-based community of executive women at leading retailers and brands. Today, I am thrilled to be joined by Andi Donovan. She's the Senior Vice President of Wholesale and Company Gear at Carhartt. Andi and I discuss her 11-year history with Carhartt, how she's grown the wholesale and company gear business over the years, her journey to leading a team of 100, and so much more. So, Andi, I'm going to bring you in. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Marie. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this conversation. I know we had your president and CEO, Linda, on our Women in Retail stage, I think a year ago. And she shared, all about kind of the brand emotional connection of Carhartt. So it's been a brand that's been on my radar for some time now. And I'm really excited to talk to you about kind of your side of the business. So let's start there. Carhartt is, such a unique and beloved brand. I think it's got this huge loyal customer base. So I'd love for you to kind of describe how you approach the Carhartt brand, how, you see it from the inside.
Yeah, excellent. I think the best way to get familiar with Carhartt, our brand and our product, is to really start from the beginning. Hamilton Carhartt founded the company 136 years ago, and he sought out to give the railroad worker a better solution for their daily job. What he did so well is really put the worker at the center of his designs. And as a result, invented the first bib overall for that worker. It provided a lot of functionality that didn't exist before. And, at that time built something very high quality and durable. And those quality and durability are, core values and attributes that we stand behind 136 years later at Carhartt. But I'll say that our brand is more than making great product. We represent the builders and the makers who shape our country, shape our world. We're part of a community that values hard work, humility, and purpose. We're strong advocates for the skilled trades, the linemen and the construction workers, and all hardworking people that really keep this country running. So while we'll always continue to build the highest quality workwear on the market, we stay true to, really advocating and being in service of that hardworking consumer.
That's great. And so you head up the wholesale and the company gear side. I'd love to learn a little bit more about kind of what your primary responsibilities are in that area, and maybe give us a little bit on the values that you just mentioned, how those are kind of shown and portrayed on the wholesale and the company gear side.
Sure, absolutely. So wholesale business is our largest portion of our business. That's where, we started as a company. As what we do through our retail partners, large and small. And we sell through many partners, actually, about 2,000, believe it or not. And then our car company gear business unit is our B2B uniform channel. So we launched that business in 2019. That continues to be a core focus for growth for us. My responsibilities include setting a strategic direction, managing our partnerships, and obviously leading a great team that ensures the brand shows up consistently across every touch point of distribution in those business units. And it's really about, I think, how, to your question around values, it's really about balancing, scale with brand integrity. So we, of course, we love growth, but, our North Star is to really protect the DNA that makes Carhartt so great. So we're never going to be that company that just grows for growth's sake. We want to make sure we're growing in the right way with the right partners.
Mhm. Yeah. So you kind of had a large part, I'm assuming, in launching the company gear in 2019. What were
Yes.
you doing before that? And maybe give us a little bit
Yeah.
on, how that all came about and your leadership there.
Yeah. So I joined Carhartt 11 years ago. And when I joined, I actually, Linda, our CEO, in some ways created a position for me, which was really, really
That's awesome.
amazing. There were some retirements that were happening, and she's like, "We have a hole, and we need someone to run distribution, our distribution center network." That we were modernizing our DC at the time. They had a gap in planning and customer service. So those are my three kind of big areas of responsibility when I joined. since then, helped to create the corporate strategy function at Carhartt. And then as a part of that, identified the uniform space as a big growth opportunity. So then, put that whole vision and business plan together in my corporate strategy. We're in my corporate strategy hat. And then was fortunate enough to get asked to lead it and launch it, which was really cool. I've just had an interesting mix of operations, strategy, and now, more of a general management function running the wholesale and company gear segments.
Mhm. Any kind of big surprises or challenges that you weren't expecting as you were asked to kind of lead that transition and open kind of that whole other market?
Yeah, I mean, the uniform space, is what we quickly realize is that outfitting an entire workforce is very different from selling to an individual consumer, as you
Mm.
would imagine. Selling retail, stocking a floor, having inventory to sell through, a digital experience is just very different. These uniform programs, you have to outfit the entire team and you have to have what they need, on day one, right? So the surprise really came in the complexity. There's also multi-layered buyers, from like a procurement officer of a large company to sometimes it's the individual owner operator of a small, HVAC operation that wants to outfit their crew of 10. Safety requirements, especially in the flame resistant space, is a big one. And the need for seamless fulfillment. So, we built new muscles, dedicated sales and service model. We launched our own direct B2B commerce site. And I will say, we're still adapting. Like we're just kind of scratching the surface. And, 5 years in, I'm in the process of, which is always good, right? To like take a look at how we're going to market, with a new lens and kind of refresh and get to that next horizon of growth with that business. But
Mm.
we've had a lot of success. We have a great partnership with Cintas, which is a big distributor of ours. We outfit all the under the wing United Airlines employees, which is cool. We outfit the largest residential solar panel installers in the US, called a company called Sunrun. We just have a lot of exciting. We've been able to break into new industries and have some very kind of exciting, rewarding opportunities with that business. But definitely still room to get better.
Yeah. Is there a different approach to outfitting, a small HVAC group of 10 to kind of a larger enterprise, workers on an airline?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So today our direct site, is really tailored for that smaller business.
Okay.
And oftentimes they just want a self-service option to be able to do that. So you can go to companygear.com and order 100 jackets for your team of 100 people, have it embroidered, brand it with your logo, and kind of be done. So that's like it's, the smaller the smaller the company, typically the smaller the crews, it's a little simpler. But even with those crews, and it's sort of the next evolution of what we're going to be doing with that business is to introduce kind of more managed program elements. So give the option to have like an employee allotment that we can help manage to make it easier on that individual owner operator of that business to outfit their crew and really kind of take all of the headaches with that off of their plate and make it more seamless.
Mhm. That's
So, but
awesome.
yeah, very different than outfitting United Airlines 28,000.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I imagine you're dealing with just higher up people and more
yes,
people, and there's legal involved and all of that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I want to go a little bit before your time at Carhartt and talk about your life pre Carhartt. You working at major retailers on kind of finance, strategy, merchandising side of things. So you had this whole other career before Carhartt. So maybe talk a little bit about your career before Carhartt, and then what appealed to you about transitioning over to Carhartt.
Yeah. So I started my career as a CPA, believe it or not. When people meet me now, they're like, what? You're a CPA? But it was a really great, right out of undergrad, a great foundation. I did learn after a few, 4 or 5 years in the public accounting space. That wasn't going to be my lifelong dream to continue to do that. So was in San Francisco at the time and, met a few individuals at Gap Inc and got the opportunity to work in a jump from kind of accounting to finance in a financial analyst role back in the day. That was when Gap was in its sort of like, the khaki swing heyday of the late 90s, early 2000s. And It was Mickey Drexler days, which was really
Mhm.
fun. And I had the opportunity to do a lot of different things in finance, ran FP&A. But what I most loved about that role was really working more on the long range side and in partnership with strategy. So then I got a taste for doing kind of more strategic work, and then got a call from Borders, the bookstore that's no longer based here in Michigan, and they had an opportunity for me to take, and I had some interest in moving. I'm a Midwesterner, had some interest in moving back, and then that was really rewarding. And that's when I shifted, and my time at Borders shifted out of finance into, worked on actually trying to sell the company and did some really cool things before that. But then moved into more of a general management role, owning merchandise planning. So that was really cool. And then I got a little, burnt out, left before we fully closed the door there. And then took a 3-year stint in consulting with a small firm that's a part of Accenture. I got to work on helping senior teams create and align around strategies centered on the customer and the customer experience. Built a customer experience practice at that firm, and then was introduced to Carhartt through a friend at a party, and he introduced me to Linda, our CEO. I talked to her for a full year before actually I was kind of trying to sell her consulting work. And she's like, "Well, I actually think I just want to hire you." So lucky
Mm,
for me, she hired me, and the rest is history. So
awesome. So
yeah,
tell me more about, you said you talked to Linda for a full
yeah,
year before she offered you a job. I think a lot of our listeners might be in that place right now where they're in
sure.
transition or just exploring their other options, and they're at the point in their career where, it's not just, applying anywhere to a job. It's forming those relationships, making those conversations, building, that trust and that camaraderie and checking in. So from your perspective, what does that look like? What advice do you have for keeping those kind of relationships steady in the hopes that down the line you might benefit each other?
Yes, I think that's an excellent question. I think just keeping relationships going even when you don't need something right away. It's making time and space in your calendar to just reconnect, just honestly for fun too, because like every interaction with someone outside of your own sort of company is an opportunity to learn something new, learn something different, even if it's not like an immediate, okay, this is my job, I'm gonna get tomorrow. And that's kind of how I approached it with Linda. I'm like, I'm not sure where this is gonna go,
Right.
but I really enjoy her. And I think the world of what's going on at Carhartt, and I'd love to be a part of it someday. And I think doing some soul searching and kind of knowing what you want. And at that time, I after years in retail and consulting and big public company retail, I wanted to build something more enduring, not just chase the next quarterly earnings. And really, Carhartt offered that rare blend of purpose and performance. I think, as you know, we're privately held, very values driven company, really believes in doing business the right way, has a long term view. Our brand is so authentic and has an amazing American heritage. The mission to serve hardworking people just deeply resonated, not just professionally, but personally, So I thinking about, what you really want in your next move and finding the companies that, jive with that is also really important.
At what point in your career did you kind of realize that you wanted to build something that was, I think you said, a little bit more enduring, a little bit bigger? At what
Yeah.
point, like, was there a switch at some point where you realized this?
Well, I think, I love variety, I love change, and that's what consulting offers, It's like you get to just catapult into these companies and help them solve their problems. The thing after doing it, for a few years, and even back when I was at PricewaterhouseCoopers back, in the 90s, you just get to a point where, or at least I did, where I just wanted to see the work through. In consulting, you hand it off and you hope that what you recommend gets adopted. And I get a lot of energy and motivation around not just coming up with the great ideas, but actually seeing it through to execution. So I knew I wanted that, and I knew that to get that, I was probably, going to have to come back to the company side of things. So
Gotcha. Yeah, makes sense.
yeah,
So now you manage a team of 100, maybe more.
Yeah, the more.
So I'd love to hear a little bit about, some best practices that you've put in place to keep spirits high, to motivate
Yeah.
them, to make sure that they're, everything that they do is still encompassing the values that Carhartt represents.
Yeah. I think clarity of purpose is huge. Everyone needs to know how their work ladders up to something bigger. And Carhartt, I mean, it's honestly so easy because of just what we represent and the origins of what Hamilton built, way back when. And personally, I emphasize transparency, recognition, empowerment. We really celebrate the wins, but we also normalize learning, from the misses. I'm a big believer in trust and autonomy. I've hired amazing people, and I really just work to give them the space to lead. A big portion of my group are salespeople, and especially salespeople that are geographically dispersed, not close to the corporate office. Like we invest, and I have an amazing team. We just came off our global sales meeting a couple weeks ago. I have an amazing team that puts on, that whole event. It's more than an event. It's preparing them, to sell with confidence. So it includes, all the tools that they need to do that really well. But recognition, we have an annual awards ceremony. It's like the Academy Awards of Carhartt. We make a really big deal about it. I was just on LinkedIn, and we are posting all the winners on LinkedIn today. And it's just, I mean, honestly, it's my favorite part of the job. It's just getting to, celebrate people that are really, really crushing it, at Carhartt. And so we just invest in that and spend a lot of time on that. Culture is huge for us. And I think we have, something special. And it's my goal to continue to preserve that.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Can you give an example of a way that you're celebrating wins kind of on a day-to-day schedule?
Yeah. I mean, day to day, I do, where I have offsites with my team where we get out of the office and really think big about the future, talk about what's working, what's not working. Combine that with ways to have fun, I think is important. I do that on the regular, not every single day, but at least a couple times a year. I'm a big believer in skip levels and not just, talking to my direct report team, but getting deeper to the organization, really listening to the front line and, obviously getting in front of customers quite a bit to understand, what we can be doing better is super important as well. So that's kind of what I do on a daily basis. We also have our, sales town hall meetings, which, talks about our year and how we're doing and our goals and where we're winning, where we have opportunity to get better, really just make it a concerted effort to bring all of us together on the regular, to talk through the business.
Yeah,
So,
that's
yeah.
great. So what about personally? How do you kind of balance your time? I used to ask this question of, what are your non-negotiables when it comes to work-life balance? And as I kept asking the question of our guests, they kept telling me there is no such thing as work-life balance. So now I've changed it to, how are you kind of recharging and spending your time in order to be your best self at work?
Yeah. I think it is. I mean, I think there is such a thing as work-life balance, but it's more of a mindset. It's like as professionals, at least I am always thinking about all the challenges that I'm trying to solve, in my head. So it is hard to turn it off, but you have to turn it off. And so, I have a big family. I have 4 teenagers. Obviously, spending time with them is a major priority for me. As a family, we like to travel, we like to ski, and be in the outdoors. So having quality time with my husband and my teenagers is something that I really prioritize and make time for and put the phone down when I'm with them. My biggest non-negotiable is sleep. Like, I am militant about sleep. I need 8 hours minimum, so I make sure I protect that for myself. But yeah, exercise, music, travel, time in the outdoors, those are my energy recharge activities.
So we're recording this in late October. So I'd
Mhm,
love for just for you to share, for the remainder of the year, what
mhm.
is kind of the thing that's exciting you the most when it comes to Carhartt, and maybe into 2026, if there's anything that you wanna tease for us.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we just, like I said, had our global sales meeting. So we're always into the future. So I'm super excited about our fall 26 line. We've got a lot of great product really centered around functional work. We've got a new product line called Steel that's going to be coming out. That's limited launch to start, but it really speaks to the kind of full functionality of outerwear and bottoms. And it's really cool. I'm probably most excited about that right now. We currently have a campaign going right now called Made Possible, which is really about there's sort of three segments to it. One is there is a show called The Road with Blake Sheldon and Keith Urban, and we outfit all of the roadies that are put on that show. So it's the people making it happen for them, and it's a country music contest. So I'm super excited. So that's going right now. That show aired last week. So super excited about that. We also are outfitting the guys building the Buffalo Bills new stadium. So that's kind of cool. So that you'll see that coming around this fall in a campaign. And then, farmers are a big part of our workers that we outfit. And so around the holidays, you'll see us helping them create the food that lands on our table for the holidays. So lots to be inspired by from both a marketing and a product perspective as we move forward. So
Yeah. And I can't let you go without asking
yeah,
about your take back program. That's something that personally I'm very excited about. I'm huge into
yeah.
sustainability, and I love seeing that it's going through. And it's what, about a year now that you guys have
Yeah,
launched it.
a
How's
couple I
that
think it's been a
going?
couple years, and what's really
Okay.
cool, I don't know, I don't think I mentioned this, but, our executive chairman, he's 4th generation Carhartt. The 5th generation is also in the business, and, Gretchen Blade is our head of sustainability, and she launched that Carhartt Reworked. So, it's super important to us. Sustainability is a big focus as a brand, and yeah, it's doing well, better than expected. So, it's core to our values, right? We aren't just about making a sale and getting another one and another one. We really truly want our workers that we outfit to have that jacket for life and pass it down to to the next generation. So having the ability to turn something in to have it reworked or buy something that's pre-owned is tremendous.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so two kind of hot seat questions before I
Yeah.
let you go. First is, what's your favorite Carhartt item that you own?
Um, I my first item that I bought when I started with my employee discount was the Gilliam vest. It's a pretty basic, simple vest, and I have them in every color. Functional pocketing, it's a great item. But the Detroit jacket is also for me a good one. It's very classic. It's kind of like the workwear blazer. So I put that on when I feel like zhuzhed up with my Carhartts and for a meeting. So, but my favorite item that we probably sell is probably the men's chore coat, the duck chore coat in Carhartt brown. It's like the classic, when you think of Carhartt, I think of the chore coat. It's just the timeless style. So,
Well, actually, what you said made me think of another kind of unrelated question, which is Carhartt has, you mentioned its origins, has traditionally been led by and tailored to men. And you're a woman in this male-dominated industry. I know that, Carhartt over the years
yeah.
has expanded their merchandise for women.
Yes.
What has it been like for you? Have you noticed any challenges or surprises, being a woman in what we can typically think of as, Carhartt male?
Yes, I know. It is. Well, it's kind of interesting and maybe surprising that most of our senior team are women. So obviously
Yeah.
our CEO, our CFO, our CIO.
I
So
think
we
it's
got,
like 55%, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
great.
So, and it's been that way for a long time. And I don't know if there's anything surprising, other than all of us just have a deep appreciation for the consumer, and it's been really cool to watch our women's business really transform in the time I've been, the 11 years I've been with Cara. Where we started we're light years ahead of where we were. And I love it because, that's what I wear, right? So
Right.
nice to have the clothing that I want to wear, and have it fit and be comfortable so
Yeah,
yeah.
great. Okay, second lightning question is favorite field visit or job site or encounter with a customer that speaks to mind.
Yeah, well, I mentioned Sunrun earlier, the residential solar panel installer, that we outfit their crew. I think one of the coolest job site visits I went on, and I'm a little bit scared of heights, so it's especially I have like a lot of admiration for these workers that climb on a roof, pretty steep pitch, and carry these huge panels to install is it's pretty remarkable. And visiting specifically with the Sunrun crew and the workers on the front line, just their love for Carhartt and the tough job they do every day. So that's probably my favorite.
Yeah, it's gotta be so rewarding to just go on a site visit and have them tell you or just physically see, your products being used,
Yeah.
to do things like install solar panels. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's great, and they keep us, on our toes too, right? So they're also these loyal customers tell us how they feel all the time.
Mhm.
We change something, they don't like it, we hear about it, and we pay attention,
Yeah,
that's our complete focus is to put them at the center of everything. So,
yeah. That's
yeah.
great. Well, I think
Yeah.
that's a good place to end. Andy, thank you so
Okay.
much. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you, Marie, I did as well.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please go to womeninretail.com/podcasts for show notes. Women in Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review our show. Lastly, if you're a female retail leader interested in joining our community at Women in Retail Leadership Circle, visit womeninretail.com/apply. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Women in Retail Talks.